So I'll try not to read all the social media stuff too much.
So I think I've made a couple of mistakes in the past, and I think I've admitted that.
You know, everyone will be all eyes on these games.
Are the staff mentally tough enough to come up with a game plan? That was the only time that I doubted staying up.
So, Willie, Sam, we're here at Beaver Drive. Just wanted to start off talking about pre-season preparations. How have you felt that that's gone?
Yeah, I feel it's been fairly positive. You know, we've had a mixed bag of results, mixed bag of performances, but most important thing is trying to bed in 7 new players who have all arrived at different times, along with new members of staff as well. Some of that has been really easy, like Neil. I've worked with Neil at 2 different clubs, so he knows how I work, I know how he works. Jen was a bit different. She's worked under 4 different managers. She's coming from a team who's just won the championship, so embedding her into our ways of working was not tricky, but it was just different for her. She wanted to sit back and observe things for a couple of weeks, and then she's gradually got more and more involved, which has been really good. And yeah, for me as a manager, try to bed in the 7 players in terms of getting to know the rest of the players, alongside trying to play games and be competitive, whilst also still trying to recruit. There's a lot going on in pre-season, but we want it to be as comfortable for the players as possible, I think.
Yeah, and I think just from a player's perspective, I think at first probably a lot of us thought we would had it felt like a long time, but that seems to have gone very quickly. And I think it was clear from the staff in terms of how they wanted us to play. I know obviously you spoke to us openly at the start in terms of the phases we were going to build up in and how we needed to improve, and it was a clear plan. And I think as players we've seen that progress. I think, you know, as Willie said, with the games we've had a lot of learnings in that. So some have gone well and some we've got a lot of areas we wanted to work on. But I think the best thing we've had is, as a player group, is the players that have come in and complemented the group. You know, and you spoke about that in terms of your staff, but bringing the right people in has probably made that transition a lot smoother than we thought. So it's not really felt like too new in a sense. It's more like it's as if we've been together for a while and now we're starting to refine things as opposed to have a big task ahead. So that's been a positive.
You know, there seems to be a lot of trust in each other's abilities. Do you feel like on the pitch especially that you're seeing, with these pre-season games that you've had, that you're seeing a bit of a cohesion and you're starting to build a bit of chemistry with your teammates? Yeah,
I think I think trust is a big one. I think you know, obviously everyone talks about it. It's probably not something that's quite easy to get, but I think we've, as I spoke about with the group, that's sort of come naturally. But I think what, you know, Willie brings in the staff is sort of the comfort to play with freedom. You know, we've spoke a lot, haven't we, about how you know, we want to win every game, but we've got to go in there with that mindset and just to have no fear, really. And I think that's something we've probably had to develop a little bit off the back of last year, because obviously last year was a difficult year. But I think since Willie's come in, you've sort of instilled a confidence in the group that we're willing to try things, and I think that's probably what a lot of the players, I think's been good to see on the training pitches. People want to try things now, and ultimately that's only going to help us improve, because if we're scared of trying things and scared of failure, then we're not going to get to where we believe we should be. So
yeah, and I don't think there's a magic formula for trust. I think trust is something the players want to feel as staff, and that's reciprocated. The staff want to feel, get in a position where they can send the team on the park and they can trust they're going to do at least the basics right, which are the non-negotiables, like hard work and sticking to the game plan and playing as part of a team and not as individuals. And I think from a manager's point of view, you develop through experience different ways to get that trust. And I think one thing I am now, and I think being a dad allows this, is you show a bit more vulnerability. So I think I've made a couple of mistakes in the past, and I think I've admitted that. And I think by me admitting that, I think the players are then feel a bit more relaxed about, well, we'll all make mistakes. And so I'm hoping that's helped develop that trust a little bit better.
And I think obviously, like we spoke about with some of the people you've brought in terms of the experiences they've got at the highest level across, you know, different countries, I think that's also helped with that element of trust, because they've had them experiences that we can pass through the group, and it's not just so much what we've experienced last year. They can sort of come in and be like, well, regardless of that, like, this is the experiences I have. And I think that's been massive for a lot of players. I think not just young players, me myself, like I've learned quite a lot so far off them players. So I think just having that mindset of, you know, we all know that we're capable of doing things and just going out there and putting into practice, really.
You talk about experience then. Is this something that you've been trying to implement with the trust and confidence, or have you learned that this is something that comes organically as you progress and you get used to each other?
So there's two ways you can do it. You can either develop winners or you can sign winners. And I think we've made sure that we've brought at least a couple of players in who have won things. And we hope that them knowing how to win major trophies, not just any trophies, but they can then help develop the next set of winners. So, you know, people like yourself, people like Shannon O'Brien, players who have got good experience now, but who are still young and who we continue to develop, they can learn off of Janice Kamen, who's got 2 Champions League winners' medals. Yeah. So I think there's a number of ways you can do that, but part of that is developing the players you've got, and part of that is signing the right type of characters and people that have won before.
And for yourself, Willie, it must be nice to have the pre-season to get your head down a little bit, because we know that you come in during the season last year and it was a bit of a pressured environment. You had to find a winning formula and quickly. How has that affected how you've looked at this pre-season, knowing what you know from last year now?
Yeah, the last time we had 0 points, everybody else in the league had a lot more. So it's nice that everybody's starting off in 0 points, and I think the players it'll be nice for the players to start off on that level pegging with everybody. So we've all got the same hopes and dreams and ambitions at the start of the season. So that's certainly, I think everybody's just, after the achievements of last year, I think everybody's just glad to get a fresh start, and we can really, because I don't think anybody really truly outside the club recognise what we did last year. Like, to accumulate 16 points in the second half of the season was fantastic. You know, the fact that the players have played under that pressure after going 9 games without a point, to then accumulate 16 and 13 games is incredible. So I think everybody starting off in 0, it gives you half a chance to start climbing the table a lot quicker.
I think also it gives us a different perspective that we went through that, and I think it's kind of, as players, maybe just trying to remind ourselves that this is the fresh start now, and you know, because we've had them experiences, we can rely on that when needed. But you know, this is probably an exciting opportunity that obviously you always get at the start of the year, but obviously last year was difficult, so we do have that like sort of end goal that we can work back from us. So I think that's helped a lot of us as players, especially the ones who have continued from last year, to switch the mindset in order to think, well, this is what I want to do as an individual or as a team by the end of this year. And I think that's, you know, helped us to plan a bit of a journey that we can hopefully kickstart this weekend.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sam talks about mindset there, and that is a big thing that we've had to change, because obviously we're going into games, we're going to Sundays as favourites to win the game probably, and that's not happened for a while. We probably felt we were favourites to win games at the tail end of last season, but the external view has never been Leicester would be favourites to win the game. So it's probably a nice pressure for the players to have for a change.
One of the best results from last year was obviously the win against Reading. A crucial victory that we know that you opened the scoring in, and we saw how much it meant to you afterwards with your emotions. So just want to see what that result meant to you. And we know that it sparked a change in result, but did it also spark a bit of a change in mentality?
Yeah, I think so, because I think in terms of mentality, obviously Reading were a team that, I mean, ever since I've been in women's football, a massively tough team. They've been in the league for a long time, and they always had, you know, we speak about ways of winning, but they always had a way to make every game extremely difficult. So I think the mentality shift there was the fact that we managed to get the result from that game, I think was a turning point in terms of we've overcome probably one of the toughest teams to play in terms of not necessarily ability, but the way that they make a hostile game. We controlled it, and then obviously that sort of pushed us forward from there. But I think from that, it was more as well our performance, sort of the way we look to use the spaces. I think you spoke about one thing that sticks in my head from that game was how quickly we could keep the ball on the pitch, because I think Reading liked to break the game up, and that was something we had to change. And I think we can use that now, and I think we did use it off the back of that, and then in future games to kick on from that. But I think just at that time, those points, I think everyone knew within the team that we could really go on to do what we needed to do.
It was a really pivotal stage of the season because we were so disappointed after the Spurs game. we'd drawn with Everton at King Power 0-0, which could have went either way. And we all went to Tottenham really confident, and Beth England scored a wonder goal. And that was the only time that I doubted staying up, because the players, it felt as if we'd been relegated. And I thought it took a good few days to lift the players, but then the players, under extreme pressure, answered a lot of questions that day against Reading, in terms of probably of each other. You know, could you rely on your teammate next to you? And I think after that game you can answer that yes. I think the staff, are the players mentally tough enough to perform under this pressure? Are the staff mentally tough enough to come up with a game plan good enough to cope with this pressure? And then there was loads of external questions. You know, nobody believed that there was even a relegation battle to be had in January, because everybody thought we were down. So loads of questions from a number of different angles were answered that day, and I think it was a pivotal result that then allowed us to, I think by the time we finished the Brighton game, we felt quite comfortable.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's interesting you talk about the Tottenham one, because that almost slips the memory a bit. But yeah, that was, I think, was very difficult. You know, it was an evening game as well, and it almost just felt like there was a lot of pressure on that game. And I think, like you said, we really felt confident in that. And obviously to concede the goal the way it was, I think then that added to the noise of the external. I think they then kind of jumped on that and was like, right, this is Leicester done, essentially. But so I think what we had to learn and how quickly we had to learn from that was, looking back, probably bigger than what we realised. So to take that sort of learning again into the new season is going to be important, because, as I said, results will change quite quickly, and you know, you don't know. It's unexpected at times. That, you know, a few teams last year, some of the results they got were unexpected. So if we can bring that into this year, I think hopefully we can make that learning process a bit quicker.
Bristol City away, you must be buzzing and ready to get started and build on last season's achievements now.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think obviously, you know, everyone says the same thing, don't they, at the end of pre-season? But you know, we've had, I'd probably say, the right amount of games in pre-season to get us into that, you know, competitive mindset and sort of focus on the results, but obviously the performance and how we built that. But it's very different when you get into the league. Obviously, there's all the spectacle around it. Obviously, you know, the growth of the women's game as well. So the Super League, you know, everyone will be all eyes on these games. But I think just in terms of Bristol, obviously they did incredibly well in a tough league now in the Championship to come up, and I think you know, they had some great results there. But I think what they're going to sort of have at the weekend is, you know, if I look back to when I got promoted with Leicester, is, you know, that excitement in terms of being in that league. It's a league that everyone says they want to be in. And I think it'll go one or two ways for them. I think, you know, there's either the excitement or, you know, you put pressure on yourselves. But because I think it's early doors, I think, you know, being at home for them, Ashton Gate, I'm sure they'll get a lot of supporters there. So in terms of our perspective, we think we've just got to be very mature in our performance and aware of them factors, but hopefully try and implement what we've done and sort of show them how this league is for us.
I think a real potential strength for us is tapping into that, what you just said. So 2 years ago you were in this position, so yourself, Shannon, I mean, there's not that many others, but in terms of you know what it feels like, first game of the season, excitement in the WSL, you know, is it excitement, is it nervousness? Do you think you can compete at that level? Is some people got a little bit of imposter syndrome because they're not sure if they belong in the WSL? So we can probably tap into the players that were in that position 2 years ago with Leicester strip on and just try and get a feeling for what that Bristol changing room might be like.
You talked earlier, Sam, about obviously all the eyes on the WSL. We know that the last few seasons have been mainly about survival, but in what is probably the biggest league in women's football, can you just give us an insight into what it takes not only to survive, but to hopefully thrive in this league?
So I think I would probably say it's different for everyone. So the way I sort of deal with these things is maybe a little bit different. So I try not to read into too much of the spectacle that's around it, the noise. So I'll try not to read all the social media stuff too much, because I think that can often contribute to them feelings you might get in terms of pressure and things like that. But in terms of how you deal with the league, is we've spoke about inwardly, is just we have to be professional but humble in what we do. And I think going into, you know, Willie spoke about there'll be games where we can hopefully go in as the favourites, but how we manage that. But ultimately, just knowing that it's a league that anything can happen week to week. So staying in games, getting the points that we've got targets for that we hold close to us, and turning performances into results is massive, because I think as Willie spoke about earlier, we don't want to be getting into a position like last Christmas where we're looking at having to move mountains essentially, and obviously we have the experience of doing that, but we don't want to be in that position to do it. So being professional but finding ways to get results, I think is a massive thing. You know, I think in pre-season I spoke about some of the games we've had where we've maybe not had the best performance, but you spoke about the way we've managed to find results. And I think as much as I, as a player, as a perfectionist, would like every game to look great, ultimately 3 points is what we need to be getting, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, as a player, I mean, I've accumulated a number of years' experience now in the WSL from when I first came to England in 2015, but as a player, I'm sure you've seen it develop each year. Like, just when you think you're closing the gap then opens again. So you think we've had a really good window, and then you look at the players that Chelsea have signed, you know, and again, Chelsea are better than they were last year. So have we closed the gap? Is that gap the same? You don't really know until the games start, but I think internally we're certainly confident in terms of the work we've done. Yeah. I think we understand that we're at a different level where we were last year, and it's yeah, as Sam says, it's about getting the performances and turning them into results, and being confident in our processes and the way we work, and having that confidence that if you keep doing the work, you will eventually get the results, and we want to get those results a lot quicker than we did last year.